My friends, today I want to talk to you about something that affects each and every one of us, our words. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 21:23, whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. There are things in life that God has placed in our hearts not to be shared with everyone. Not because we should be secretive, but because wisdom teaches us that some things are better kept between us and the Lord. Not everyone will understand the dreams and plans that God has placed in your heart. When you receive a vision for your life, a purpose that burns within you, it is often meant to be nurtured in private before it is revealed to the world. Many people make the mistake of sharing their dreams too soon, seeking approval or validation, only to be met with doubt, discouragement, or even opposition. It is important to guard what God has entrusted to you and wait for the right time to share it. The story of Joseph in the Bible is a perfect example. Joseph had a dream given by God, a dream of greatness and purpose. But when he shared it with his brothers, they did not celebrate him. Instead, they envied him, despised him, and eventually betrayed him. What Joseph didn't realize at the time was that not everyone would be happy about what God was preparing in his life. Some people, even those closest to you, may not support your calling. Their hearts may be filled with jealousy, misunderstanding, or even fear. When you share too much too soon, you risk allowing negativity to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. The enemy loves to use people to discourage those who are walking in faith. If you listen to their words instead of God's voice, you may begin to question the very thing He has placed in your heart. Dreams require protection. Just as a seed needs to be buried in the soil before it can grow into a tree, your dreams need time to develop in silence. If you expose them too early, they may be trampled before they take root. Think about the process of a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. If someone tries to open the cocoon before the butterfly is ready, it will never develop the strength to fly. In the same way, if you reveal your plans before they are fully matured, they may not survive the opposition that comes with premature exposure. There is wisdom in waiting. God works in seasons, and not every season is meant for revelation. Some seasons are meant for preparation. When David was anointed as king, he did not immediately take the throne. Instead, he went through years of training, battles, and struggle. If he had declared himself king too soon, he might have lost the opportunity altogether. God allows delays not to deny you, but to refine you. The waiting period is where faith is strengthened, skills are sharpened, and character is built. Those who rush ahead often miss the lessons God is trying to teach them. Another reason to guard your dreams is that not everyone carries the same level of faith. Some people only believe what they can see, while others have the gift to see beyond the natural. If you share your vision with those who lack faith, they may speak words of doubt over your life. They may ask, "How will you do it? Where will the resources come from? Do you really think you're capable?" These voices, if entertained, can shake your confidence and cause you to hesitate in what God has called you to do. That is why Jesus often performed miracles away from the crowds. He removed the doubters, the skeptics, and those who lacked faith. He understood that an atmosphere of belief is necessary for the supernatural to unfold. When you guard your dreams, you give yourself the space to grow without unnecessary distractions. Sometimes, even well-meaning people can give advice that is not aligned with God's plan. They may suggest an easier path, a safer route, or a more logical approach. But God's ways are higher than human wisdom. What He has planned for you may not make sense to others, and that's okay. Your responsibility is not to explain or justify your calling. Your responsibility is to be faithful. There is power in quiet obedience. When Nehemiah set out to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, he did not immediately announce his plans to everyone. He walked through the ruins at night, surveying the damage, praying and strategizing. It was only when the time was right that he gathered the people and shared the vision. Because he guarded the plan in its early stages, he was able to carry it out without unnecessary opposition. Those who are wise understand the value of timing. They know that speaking too soon can invite resistance, but waiting on God's direction brings success. Another danger of revealing your dreams too early is that it can create unnecessary pressure. When too many people know about your plans, you may feel obligated to prove yourself before the time is right. Instead of focusing on growth, you may become distracted by trying to meet expectations. But God does not call you to perform for people. He calls you to walk in obedience. When you keep your dreams between you and God, you allow Him to shape them according to His will without outside interference. God does not give dreams without purpose. Every vision He places in your heart has an appointed time. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarries. Wait for it, because it will surely come." There is a process to every promise. Just as a farmer plants seeds and waits for the harvest, you must trust that what God has spoken will come to pass in His perfect timing. Until then, guard your dreams, nurture them in prayer, allow God to prepare you for what is ahead. And when the time comes, He will make all things beautiful in His time. When you do good for others, it should come from a place of love and obedience to God rather than a desire for recognition. True generosity does not seek applause, nor does it require validation from people. In a world where social media has made it easy to broadcast every good deed, the Bible reminds us that the greatest acts of kindness are those done in secret. When we give without seeking attention, we reflect the heart of God, who blesses us not because of how others perceive us, but because of what He sees in our hearts. Jesus taught in Matthew 6:3-4, "But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." This verse reveals a powerful truth. God notices what is done away from the spotlight. The world encourages us to showcase our good works, to receive admiration, and to gain social approval. But God calls us to something higher. When we do good, it should not be about how many people see it, but about fulfilling God's will with a pure heart. The problem with seeking recognition for our good deeds is that it shifts the focus from God to ourselves. Instead of glorifying Him, we end up glorifying our own actions. When we do things with the expectation of being noticed, we are no longer acting in humility, but in pride. Jesus warned against this attitude when He spoke about the Pharisees, who would make a public show of their acts of charity and prayer. They sought the praise of men, and in doing so, they forfeited the true reward that comes from God. Their reward was the fleeting approval of people. But the one who gives in secret is rewarded by the eternal blessings of the Father. Giving in secret also protects our hearts from the temptation of self-righteousness. It is easy to fall into the trap of feeling superior because of the good things we do. If we constantly announce our generosity, we may begin to measure our worth by our deeds rather than by God's grace. But God does not want us to compare ourselves to others. He wants us to serve in humility, knowing that everything we have comes from Him. The Bible reminds us in James 1:17, every good and perfect gift is from above. This means that when we give, we are simply passing on what God has already given to us. It is not about us. It is about being faithful stewards of His blessings. Another reason to keep our good deeds private is that it teaches us to trust in God's provision. When we give without expecting recognition, we learn to rely on Him for our reward. Sometimes people hesitate to give because they worry about their own needs, but Jesus reassures us in Luke 6:38, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." This is God's promise. When we give with a sincere heart, He will provide more than we need. Our generosity should be an act of faith, knowing that God will always take care of us. Giving in secret also allows us to bless others without making them feel indebted. Some people hesitate to accept help because they do not want to feel like they owe something in return. But when kindness is done in private, it removes that pressure. It allows the recipient to receive freely without the weight of obligation. This reflects the heart of God, who gives to us freely, without expecting anything in return except our love and obedience. When we help others without drawing attention to ourselves, we mirror the grace of God, who provides for his children in ways they may not even realize. There is also great peace in doing good quietly. When we seek recognition, we become dependent on the approval of others. If people do not notice or acknowledge our efforts, we may feel discouraged or unappreciated. But when we give in secret, our motivation remains pure. We are not looking for applause, so we are not disappointed when it does not come. Our joy comes from knowing that we have obeyed God and made a difference in someone's life, even if no one else sees it. Sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are those that no one will ever know about. A prayer for someone in need, an anonymous gift, an act of service done without seeking thanks. These are the things that truly matter in the kingdom of God. They may not make headlines, but they are precious in his sight. The Bible tells us that even a cup of cold water given in his name will not go unnoticed. Nothing done for God is ever wasted, and nothing given in love is ever forgotten. This principle of quiet generosity also applies to how we serve others. Many people want to be recognized for their efforts, whether in ministry, at work, or in their community. But Jesus showed us a different way. He washed the feet of his disciples, an act of humility that no one expected. He did not seek attention for his miracles. In fact, he often told those he healed not to tell anyone. His life was a demonstration of selfless love, not for personal glory, but to fulfill the will of the Father. As his followers, we are called to do the same, to serve, to give, and to love without seeking recognition. In the end, what matters most is not how many people applaud our good deeds, but whether God is pleased with our hearts. True generosity is not about being seen, it is about being faithful. It is about giving because we love God and want to reflect his goodness. And when we do this, he sees, he remembers, and he rewards in ways beyond what we could ever imagine. Life is full of struggles, and every person faces battles that others may never see. Some struggles are physical, some are emotional, and others are deeply spiritual. While it can be helpful to share burdens with trusted friends or mentors, not every struggle should be made public. There are personal battles that should be taken to God in prayer rather than exposed to the world. When struggles are shared too openly, they can invite unnecessary criticism, judgment, or even discouragement. Some people may not understand, and others may use the information against you. That is why wisdom teaches us to guard certain struggles and entrust them to God, who alone can provide true healing and strength. One of the dangers of openly sharing personal struggles is that not everyone responds with compassion. While some may offer encouragement, others may react with indifference, gossip, or even delight in someone else's hardships. The Bible warns us in Proverbs 13:03, "Those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin." This does not mean we should suffer in silence, but rather that we should be discerning about who we confide in. There is a difference between seeking wise counsel and simply sharing struggles with anyone who will listen. God provides the right people to support and guide us, but he also calls us to bring our burdens directly to him. Jesus himself set an example of taking struggles to God in prayer. In the Garden of Gethsemane, as he faced the agony of the cross, he did not announce his suffering to the crowds. Instead, he withdrew to pray, bringing his deepest pain before the Father. Even among his disciples, he took only Peter, James, and John a little further with him. This shows that while it is good to have a small, trusted group for support, The most intimate struggle should be placed in God's hand. There are times when only He can provide the strength and comfort needed to endure the trials of life. Another reason to be cautious about sharing struggles too openly is that it can sometimes magnify the problem rather than bring a solution. When people constantly talk about their difficulties, they may begin to feel even more overwhelmed by them. Dwelling too much on struggles can make them seem larger than they really are. However, when struggles are taken to God in faith, He gives peace that surpasses understanding. Philippians 4:6 reminds us, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." God's presence brings comfort in ways that human words cannot. It is also important to remember that not every struggle is meant to be shared, because some battles are meant to refine and strengthen us in private. Just as gold is purified in fire, faith is often strengthened through trials. Some struggles are opportunities for personal growth, teaching patience, perseverance, and deeper trust in God. When a person shares too much, they may receive temporary comfort from others, but they might miss the deeper lesson God is trying to teach them. The refining process requires solitude, prayer, and reliance on Him. At times, openly sharing struggles can also create unnecessary worry for others. Family members, friends, or colleagues may feel burdened by problems they are not equipped to solve. While it is good to seek support, constantly sharing struggles can place undue pressure on relationships. Instead, taking struggles to God allows Him to work in ways that no human intervention can. There are times when no amount of advice or encouragement from others can bring peace. Only God's presence can truly heal the heart. There is also a risk of becoming defined by struggles when they are too frequently discussed. A person who constantly speaks about difficulties may begin to see themselves only through the lens of hardship. They may forget that their identity is not in their struggles, but in God's promises. Instead of being known for their faith, they may become known for their difficulties. But the Bible teaches that we are more than conquerors through Christ. Romans 8:37 says, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us." God does not want His children to be weighed down by struggles. He wants them to walk in victory. This does not mean that struggles should always be kept hidden. There is wisdom in seeking godly counsel and opening up to those who can provide guidance and prayer. However, discernment is key. Not everyone needs to know every difficulty, and not every problem needs to be publicly shared. Some struggles are meant to be fought in the secret place, where God strengthens and restores. David, before he became king, faced many personal battles. He did not always broadcast his troubles, but he poured out his heart to God in the Psalms. His example teaches that true healing comes not from the opinions of people, but from an intimate relationship with God. There is also power in silence when facing struggles. Sometimes the best response is to quietly endure and trust that God is working behind the scenes. Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quietness and trust is your strength." When struggles are handled with faith and discretion, they become testimonies of God's faithfulness. There are times when victory comes not by speaking about a problem, but by allowing God to fight the battle. Exodus 14:14 reminds us, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Trusting in His power means believing that He is at work, even when circumstances seem difficult. Every person will face struggles at some point in life, but how they handle them makes a difference. Those who take their struggles to God find peace, strength, and renewal. While it is good to have a small, trusted circle for support, ultimate healing comes from Him alone. There are moments when struggles should be fought in prayer rather than spoken aloud, moments when silence brings greater peace than words ever could. God sees every tear, hears every unspoken prayer, and holds every broken heart in his hands. In his presence, there is comfort, healing, and the assurance that no struggle is ever faced alone. Family is one of the most precious gifts that God has given, a place of love, support, and unity. However, every family also has struggles, conflicts, and imperfections. In a world where people often share personal matters openly, whether in conversations, social media, or casual discussions, it is important to recognize that not everything should be shared. Protecting your family's dignity means guarding their weaknesses, not exposing their faults to the world. It means choosing love over criticism, covering their flaws with grace, and taking their struggles to God in prayer rather than making them a topic of conversation. One of the greatest examples of this principle is found in the story of Noah. After the flood, Noah became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. When his son Ham saw him in this vulnerable state, he went out and told his brothers. Instead of following Ham's example, Shem and Japheth chose to cover their father without looking at his shame. Because of this, they were blessed while Ham was cursed, Genesis 9:20-27. This story teaches an important lesson. Exposing the weaknesses of family members does not bring honor, it brings shame. Those who truly love their family will seek to protect them rather than broadcast their failures. In today's world, it has become common for people to speak negatively about their family members, sometimes without even realizing the damage it causes. Whether complaining about a spouse, criticizing children, or speaking ill of parents and siblings, these words can have lasting consequences. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Words have power, and when they are used to dishonor family members, they can create wounds that are difficult to heal. The more someone speaks negatively about their family, the more those words take root in their heart, shaping how they view their loved ones. Over time, a critical spirit can replace a heart of gratitude, making it easier to see faults than blessings. Keeping family matters private does not mean ignoring problems. There are times when seeking counsel is necessary, especially in serious situations that require wisdom and guidance. However, this should be done with discretion. Speaking with a trusted pastor, counselor, or mentor is different from openly sharing family struggles with anyone who will listen. Seeking help should come from a desire for resolution, not a desire for attention or sympathy. Ephesians 4:29 reminds believers to speak words that build up rather than tear down. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. This principle applies especially within the family. Another reason to protect your family's dignity is that constant criticism can damage relationships. When a husband or wife frequently speaks negatively about their spouse to others, it creates division. When parents complain about their children, it discourages them rather than guiding them. When siblings expose each other's flaws, it creates resentment instead of unity. Love seeks to build up, not to destroy. Even in moments of frustration, choosing to pray rather than speak negatively makes a difference. James 1:19 instructs, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Before speaking about a family member's shortcomings, it is wise to pause and consider whether those words will bring healing or harm." Social media has made it easier than ever to expose personal family matters. Some people share details about their relationships, frustrations, or private conflicts online, often without realizing the long-term consequences. What is shared in a moment of emotion can remain for years, damaging reputations and creating unnecessary division. A private disagreement that could have been resolved in love can turn into a public spectacle, making reconciliation more difficult. The Bible teaches that love covers a multitude of sins, 1 Peter 4:8. This does not mean ignoring issues, but handling them with wisdom, love, and discretion. Children in particular need protection when it comes to family matters. Parents who constantly complain about their children's behavior in front of others may unknowingly shape their children's self-impunity. A child who hears their parents speak negatively about them may begin to believe those words, affecting their confidence and emotional well-being. Instead of exposing their weaknesses, parents should focus on speaking life into their children, correcting them with love and covering them in prayer. Likewise, adult children should honor their parents even if they have made mistakes. Exodus 20:12 commands, "Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." Honor is not about pretending that family members are perfect, but about treating them with respect and handling their faults with grace. Marriage is another relationship that should be guarded carefully. When a husband or wife speaks negatively about their spouse to friends or family members, it weakens the foundation of trust. Instead of discussing problems with outsiders, couples should strive to resolve issues through open and honest communication with each other, and most importantly, through prayer. A strong marriage is built on mutual respect, and protecting each other's dignity is a key part of that respect. Forgiveness also plays a crucial role in protecting family relationships. Every family will experience misunderstandings, conflicts, and mistakes. Holding on to past wrongs and speaking about them repeatedly only deepens wounds. Colossians 3:13 encourages believers to bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. Instead of exposing a family member's past failures, choosing to forgive and move forward strengthens relationships. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring wrong behavior, but it does mean choosing love over resentment and restoration over division. Ultimately, protecting a family's dignity is a reflection of God's love. He does not expose the sins of his children to shame them. Rather, he covers them with his grace and offers redemption. In the same way, family members should strive to protect and uplift one another, choosing love, prayer, and discretion over criticism and exposure. Those who honor their family through their words and actions will not only strengthen their relationships, but also experience the blessings of a home built on love and unity. Your finances are a deeply personal matter that should be handled with wisdom, responsibility, and discretion. In today's world, where people often feel pressure to display their wealth or discuss their financial status openly, it is important to remember that money should be managed with humility and not as a means of seeking approval from others. Whether in abundance or in struggle, financial matters should be kept private, shared only with trusted individuals when necessary. Money can be a tool for good, but when it becomes a source of pride or comparison, it can lead to unnecessary problems. One of the greatest dangers of openly discussing finances is that it can breed envy or resentment. When people frequently talk about their income, investments, or purchases, it may unintentionally create jealousy in others. Proverbs 27:2 offers wise counsel. Let someone else praise you, and not your own mouth, an outsider, and not your own lips. This applies to financial matters as well. Whether someone is wealthy or facing financial hardship, discussing money too openly can shift the focus from gratitude and stewardship to pride or insecurity. Another risk of revealing financial details is that it can attract unnecessary attention. Not everyone who hears about financial success has good intentions. Some may seek to take advantage, while others may judge or criticize based on perceived financial status. The Bible warns about this in Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. A person who openly discusses financial blessings may find themselves surrounded by people who are more interested in their money than in their well-being. Keeping finances private helps maintain genuine relationships built on trust rather than material gain. On the other hand, openly discussing financial struggles can also lead to unintended consequences. While seeking wise financial counsel is important, constantly speaking about financial problems can create a mindset of lack and discouragement. Instead of focusing on solutions, people who frequently talk about financial struggles may become trapped in a cycle of negativity. Philippians 4:19 reminds believers, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." Trusting in God's provision is key, and maintaining a spirit of gratitude, even in financial hardship, allows for peace in difficult seasons. Financial matters should also be handled with discretion within families. Marriages, in particular, require financial unity, but discussing personal financial details with outsiders can create unnecessary tension. If a husband or wife frequently shares their financial struggles or successes with friends or relatives, it can lead to outside opinions influencing their financial decisions. Instead, couples should seek to build a strong financial foundation together, making decisions based on wisdom and shared goals. Proverbs 24:03. Proverbs 24:03. By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Financial stability within a marriage comes not from public discussions, but from mutual understanding and responsible stewardship. Another aspect of financial discretion is generosity. While giving to others is a biblical principle, true generosity does not seek recognition. Matthew 6:03:4 instructs, "But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." When people announce their charitable acts, it shifts the focus from helping others to receiving praise. True giving should come from a heart of love, not a desire for approval. Budgeting and financial planning also require discretion. Not everyone needs to know the details of how a person earns, spends, or saves money. Some people may judge financial decisions without understanding the full picture. Others may feel entitled to offer unsolicited advice. Keeping financial plans private allows for wise decision-making without unnecessary influence or pressure. Seeking counsel from a trusted financial advisor or mentor is valuable, but broadcasting financial decisions to the world can invite unnecessary complications. Contentment is another key reason to keep financial matters private. When people constantly compare their financial status with others, it can lead to dissatisfaction and unnecessary stress. The Bible warns about this in 1 Timothy 6:6, verse 7. "But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it." True wealth is not measured by bank accounts or material possessions, but by a heart that trusts in God's provision. Keeping financial matters private helps maintain a spirit of contentment and gratitude. There is also wisdom in being prepared for unexpected financial challenges. Life is unpredictable, and financial security can change suddenly. Those who openly discuss their financial status, whether in prosperity or struggle, may find it difficult to navigate changes without outside opinions or pressures. Instead of seeking validation from others, financial stability should be built on biblical principles of stewardship, hard work, and trust in God. Proverbs 21:05 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." Planning wisely and handling finances with discretion leads to long-term security. In all things, financial matters should be approached with humility. Wealth is not a measure of a person's worth, nor is financial struggle a sign of failure. What matters most is how money is managed, whether in seasons of plenty or in times of need. Keeping finances private allows for responsible stewardship, protects against unnecessary judgment, and fosters a heart of gratitude and trust in God. When finances are handled with wisdom and discretion, they become a tool for blessing rather than a source of pride or anxiety. Your good deeds, the acts of kindness and generosity you extend to others, should be done with a pure heart, not for the sake of recognition or praise. In a world where people often showcase their good works for attention, it is crucial to remember that true service is not about public acknowledgement, but about glorifying God and helping others out of love. When good deeds are done in secret without seeking applause, they become an offering of faith rather than a performance for human approval. One of the clearest teachings on this comes from Matthew 6:01, where Jesus warns, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others, to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven." This verse reminds believers that when good works are done for human praise, the reward is temporary and shallow. But when they are done quietly, without seeking attention, God sees and rewards accordingly. The true measure of goodness is not in how many people notice it, but in the sincerity of the heart behind it. Publicizing good deeds can sometimes turn an act of service into an act of self-promotion. When people give to charity, help the needy, or perform acts of kindness while making sure everyone knows about it, the focus shifts from serving others to elevating themselves. This contradicts the spirit of true generosity, which seeks to bless others without expecting anything in return. Proverbs 27:02 advises, "Let someone else praise you and not your own mouth, an outsider and not your own lips." Those who quietly serve, expecting nothing in return, are the ones who truly embody the spirit of love and humility. Another reason to keep good deeds private is to protect the dignity of those being helped. When people broadcast their charitable acts, it can sometimes embarrass or shame those who are receiving help. True kindness uplifts others without making them feel small. Jesus often helped people in private, ensuring that their dignity remained intact. In Mark 7:33, when Jesus healed a deaf and mute man, he took him aside, away from the crowd, and healed him in private. This shows that kindness does not need an audience. It only needs a compassionate heart. When good deeds are done quietly, they also have a greater impact. Those who help others without seeking recognition do so purely out of love and obedience to God. Their actions inspire others in a more genuine way than any public display could. When someone serves in secret, their kindness reflects the love of Christ rather than a personal desire for admiration. Galatians 6:9 encourages believers, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." God sees every act of kindness, no matter how small or unnoticed by the world, and he honors those who serve with humility. Seeking recognition for good deeds can also lead to a dangerous form of pride. When people begin to expect praise for their generosity, their focus shifts from serving to being seen as good. This can create a mindset where they only help others when there is an audience or when they will receive credit. But true love and kindness do not require validation. Colossians 3:23-24 reminds believers, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward." The true reward comes from God, not from human applause. There is also wisdom in keeping good deeds private, because it allows the work to be about God's glory rather than personal achievement. When people draw attention to their good works, it can sometimes overshadow the real message of kindness and faith. Instead of pointing others toward God, it can make the giver the center of attention. But when acts of kindness are done quietly, they allow God's love to shine through, showing that the motivation comes from faith rather than personal gain. Another important reason for discretion in good deeds is that it prevents comparison and competition. When people publicly display their generosity, others may feel pressured to do the same, or may begin to compare their own acts of kindness. But kindness is not a contest, it is a reflection of God's love. Each person has different opportunities to serve, and their acts of kindness should be guided by God, not by a desire to match or surpass others. 2 Corinthians 9:7 says, each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. True generosity is not measured by public recognition, but by the sincerity of the heart. Keeping good deeds private also fosters a deeper relationship with God. When kindness is done in secret, it becomes an intimate act of faith, something between the individual and God. It strengthens the trust that God sees all and rewards in His time. Matthew 6:03. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. God's rewards are eternal and far greater than any human praise. Acts of kindness are a vital part of a life of faith, but they should be done with humility and love, not for attention or praise. When good deeds are kept private, they retain their purity and impact. They serve as a testimony of faith rather than an attempt at self-glorification. God sees every hidden act of kindness, and His blessings far outweigh any recognition from people. Serving in secret allows kindness to remain genuine, dignified, and truly honoring to God.